Hi friends, it's Mrs. Rainierson here. Sorry about missing out last week. I was super busy, and so I didn't get my videos posted on Monday or Friday last week. But I'm here today, and we are going to go ahead and continue with chapter 19. Well, let's get started. Lord and Lady Thornton didn't return. Susan said we'd waited long enough and would eat without them. Ruth came down and sat quietly at the place Susan indicated. She put her napkin on her lap. We watched her. She took a sip of water. We watched. Stop staring at Ruth, Susan said. Jamie, eat your supper. Supper was hot pot, which was sausage, potatoes, turnips, and carrots all baked together in the oven for hours. Sounds delicious. Ruth picked up her fork, took a bite, and spat the mouthful out. Oh. Is the sausage made from pork? She asked. Oh, no, said Susan. I didn't think. Probably. I mean, who knows these days? But one assumes pork. Yes, next time I'll ask. Ruth nodded. She picked the sausage pieces out of her serving and lined them up on the edge of her plate. She must not eat sausage or pork products. It's good sausage, Jamie said. Jamie said, Susan, hush. Jamie said, we're not supposed to waste sausage. There's a war on. You want it? Ruth asked. She transferred her sausage to Jamie's plate. We watched her. I don't eat pork, she said, looking up at us. I keep kosher. At least I try to. She stirred her fork through the rest of her serving. My father would tell me not to eat anything cooked in the same dish as pork sausage. My mother would say it was more important that I be a good guest, and that I needed to eat to keep up my strength. I couldn't make sense of any of that. I told you, Ruth said. I'm Jewish. I said, so? Judaism is a very old religion, Susan said, far older than Christianity. Many Jewish people follow strict dietary rules that include not eating pork. Ruth, you'll have to let me know how to accommodate you. I probably don't have enough kitchenware for full kosher, but I'll do my best. What's Christianity? I asked. Ruth gaped at me. I ignored her. Susan took a deep breath. Christianity means any of the religions that believe Jesus Christ was the Son of God. You're a Christian, Ada. I said, how do I know? Ruth snorted. What? I said. Ruth said, how can you not know? I glared at her. Our village church is the Church of England, Susan said. That's a Christian church. What about the churches in London? I used to hear their bells from Mam's room. Mostly Christian, Susan said, but there are Jewish people in London. I'm sure there are synagogues there. She took a deep breath. Judaism is the religion of the Old Testament, Ada, of Abraham and Moses. Jewish people don't follow the New Testament. They don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. How can they not believe that? I said. It's true. Ruth sniffed. That's not what our rabbi says. Jamie said, what's a rabbi? Ruth said, I do not believe this. I did not think English children could be so ignorant. Not all of them, I said. Just us. Susan turned to Ruth. Ada and Jamie were evacuated from the East End of London at the start of the war, she explained. Until recently, their educations have been sporadic. I see. Ruth looked slightly less horrified. They don't belong to you. They do, said Susan. I adopted them. Our first mother is in heaven, Jamie said. Susan's our second. I glared at him. That's not true. You know it. Ma'am wasn't in heaven, and Susan was not our mother. I turned back to Ruth. How can you not believe Jesus is God? Ruth said, how can you believe he is? You can't choose what you believe, I said. You can't just say, I don't believe that's a chair, and have it turn into a hedgehog. Plus, our vicar wouldn't lie. Ada, Susan said, people choose their own beliefs all the time. Mr. Collins isn't lying. He preaches what he sincerely believes. Ruth sincerely believes something else, and that's all right. It can't be, I said. All of these things I'd worked to learn, and now they were optional? If this was a joke, it wasn't a funny one. Susan didn't look like she was joking. Religion is a matter of faith. You always have to choose what you believe. Ruth nodded. A touch, definitely. I choose to be Jewish, she said. Are there other people like her in the village? I asked Susan. People who don't believe in Jesus? Yes, said Susan. I'm not one of them, but there are probably people in our village who don't even believe God exists. Not in any form. You're joking. No. How did they get to heaven? Susan said. They probably don't believe in heaven either. Do you have to believe in heaven to go there? Susan said, I have no idea. I felt enormously irritated. Why didn't you tell me all this? Why'd you make me believe all that stuff about heaven if it isn't true? I didn't make you believe anything, Susan said. I can't even get you to trust that I'll feed you. Why on earth would I tackle God? I said, angry. I didn't know I had a choice. Susan said, get over it, Ada. Whether you realize it or not, you're choosing your own beliefs all the time. She wiped her mouth with her napkin. Let us not monopolize the conversation. Ruth, what can I get you? More potatoes or some bread? Ruth uncovered another piece of sausage. Jamie looked at it hopefully. Ruth gave it to him. What do you do with your bacon ration? Jamie asked, chewing. Jews don't get a bacon ration, Ruth said. We get extra cheese. Jamie swallowed. He said, that's too bad. Chapter 20. As soon as she finished eating, Ruth went upstairs and locked herself in her bedroom again. She doesn't like us, I said. I don't blame her, said Susan. Poor girl. Jamie said, she'll look pretty rich to me. Oh boy. Lord and Lady Thornton returned an hour later. They wore composed faces and were carefully polite. They were both still angry. I could feel it. It reminded me of how Ma'am sometimes smiled just before she started walloping me. My stomach hurt. I edged closer to Susan. If you want to, Ada, she said, you can read in bed for a while. I'm not going to read to you and Jamie tonight. Mom, Jamie protested. Not tonight, Susan said. You may read in bed or you may stay down here for the news broadcast. Your choice. We always went to sleep after the 9 o'clock radio news. I went upstairs. My bedroom is cold, but I had blankets enough. I snuggled with my dictionary. Christianity, the religion based on the person and teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, or its beliefs and practices. Jew, a member of the people and cultural community whose traditional religion is Judaism, and who trace their origins through the ancient Hebrew people of Israel to Abraham. Judaism, the monotheistic religion of the Jews. Monotheistic, relating to or characterized by the belief that there is only one God. None of this helped. Our vicar said there is only one God. God came in, God the Father, God the Son, who was Jesus, and God the Holy Spirit. But it was all supposed to be only one God? I'd asked him about that once when his sermon hadn't made sense. His answer hadn't made sense either, except that he promised me that it was really all one God. So if I believed in one God and Ruth believed in one God, which one of us believed in the wrong God? I didn't quite dare ask Ruth. Lord Thornton left the next morning. Susan taught Ruth at the kitchen table alongside Jamie and me. The moment Susan finished, Ruth gathered her books and disappeared into her bedroom and locked the door. At meals, she and Lady Thornton sat silently at the opposite ends of the table. On the third day, Ruth noticed my job was at the lunch. You ride? She asked. I said, I have my own pony. I work at Lady Thornton's stables in exchange for his keep. Ruth said, I like horses. I like to ride. I didn't say anything. Ruth said, could I come to the stables with you? No. Lady Thornton swiped her hands as though brushing dirt off of them. A German at Thornton House when there's war work being done there? Just the stables, Ruth said. I wouldn't go near the house. Lady Thornton sniffed. Absolutely not. People in the village distrusted Ruth too. Susan and I got dark looks when we queued for food. Susan explained why Ruth was living with us, but only once. They'll get used to her or not, without me, she said. I'll save my breath. In the first week, at least, Ruth didn't kill us in our sleep. Jamie rummaged through her suitcase and dresser drawers one day while she was taking a walk and reported that they contained nothing but clothes, her school books, a hairbrush, and a toothbrush. Susan was mad as fire that Jamie'd snooped, but I was glad he'd done it. I said so. Susan said she was disappointed in us both. Lady Thornton looked pleased. Why does Hitler hate Jews? I asked Susan. Do Jews believe in the wrong God? If Ruth believed in a different God from Hitler, did Hitler and I believe in the same God? The thought made me queasy. Hitler killed Ma'am and very nearly killed me. No, Susan said. Jews don't believe in the wrong God. No one knows why Hitler hates anything. Hitler defies explanation. Jamie got his cast cut off. His arm muscles were skinny from not being used, and his bones really had healed good as new. His entire arm would be good as new in just a little while. Dr. Graham promised. Bones heal. When doctors took care of them, Jamie wouldn't even have a scar. If your clubfoot had been treated when you were born, Susan said, it would have been like it had never happened either. You wouldn't even remember being different. I would always remember it. Ruth overheard. Is that why you limp? She asked. You had a bad foot? What is a clubfoot? I gave her a look I'd learned from Lady Thornton. I don't limp. I don't have any idea what you mean. Told her. See how long. Okay. Chapter 21. The new Fire Watch and Rhoda finally came out. Susan handed me a copy of it when she came back from working at the WVS, and I scanned the paper for my name. Lady Thornton, I said. I pushed it back to Susan. They've got me going up with Lady Thornton. So, asked Susan, you knew fire watchers worked in pairs. I didn't want to watch fire with Lady Thornton. The idea of fire watching with anyone made me anxious enough, let alone her. You know, I said. Susan shook her head at me. I don't. She did. She just wouldn't admit it. We were assigned an early shift, 8 o'clock at night until 10. On the proper night, we bundled up and sat together in the darkness. Gasoline was rationed now, and even Lady Thornton was no longer drove anywhere she could reach on foot. Heavy clouds blanketed the black sky. Wind whistled through the bare branches and dead leaves in the hedge. A faraway bird made a soft, low noise. That's an owl, Lady Thornton said. I looked up at her. What's an owl? She raised her eyebrows, but after a moment answered, a nocturnal bird. You almost never see them in daytime. Hey, we have a visitor. Oop, he's gone. I nodded. Yeah, another thing I didn't know. At the doors of the church, Lady Thornton paused. On a night like tonight, the way up will be very dark, she said. Follow me closely. We'll go slow. The inside of the church smelled of smoke and candle wax. It was so quiet I could hear Lady Thornton breathe, but once we began climbing the staircase, I couldn't see anything at all. The stairway was utterly dark. I clutched the handrail with one hand and the back of Lady Thornton's coat with the other. I tried to feel my way up, but I wasn't used to trusting how things felt beneath my feet. Any moment I could miss a step and fall. Lady Thornton missed a step and stumbled. I pitched forward into her. Careful, she said. We sidled into the bell ringer's room. I made myself breathe deep as quietly as I could. Now the ladder. Up, up. At the top, the sideways jump to the other stair. Lady Thornton swung the little door open. I followed too close. The edge of the door hit my forehead. I gasped, startled, and nearly slipped. Sorry. Out of the steeple's ledge, Lady Thornton ran her thumbs over my face. They felt cold and hard. I didn't flinch. You're not bleeding. That's good. She pulled the door shut behind us, so we don't go tumbling into the night. She sounded perfectly calm, as though the idea of falling down the dark hole was nothing to worry about. As though we weren't standing out in the high, open sky waiting for Germans to come and bomb us, watching for their bombs and fires. Lady Thornton had something called binoculars to look through. They make faraway things seem closer, Lady Thornton said. Would you like to try them? I shook my head. I needed both hands to hold the binoculars, and then I wouldn't be able to steady myself against the stone wall. Walk around and watch for light or movement, Lady Thornton said. We're almost guaranteed not to have any bombers tonight. Too dark. She smiled thinly. It's very dull up here most of the time. Good of you to want to take a turn. I like to be useful, I said. Yes, I know, Lady Thornton replied. Susan's turning you into a regular little housewife, isn't she? With all the cooking and sewing she's taught you. She almost sounded scornful of Susan, which I didn't appreciate at all. Since she'd come to live with us, Lady Thornton had not cooked any part of a single meal, though she'd done her full share of eating. I like to cook, I said. I like having good food. Lady Thornton put down her binoculars. My eyes had adjusted to the dark enough that I could see her face, unruffled as always. Of course, she said. I understand. I suppose your mother was a good cook, too. Not really, I said. I'm sorry, Lady Thornton said. I shouldn't have mentioned her. I know you must miss her terribly. No, I said. Why would you think that? She had stopped listening. She walked around the far side of the steeple and aimed the binoculars at the leaden sky. The wind blew hard. I thought I could feel the steeple sway. Yikes. Surely not. Surely the steeple was safe. It had been atop the church a long time. A sound like a gunshot below us. I bit my lip hard and stifled a scream. Just a tree branch, Lady Thornton called from the opposite side of the steeple. Those old trees round the graveyard, sometimes they'll lose a limb when the wind gets heavy. My speeded up heart rate refused to slow down. Minutes crawled like hours. My toes and fingers went numb. Lady Thornton opened a thing called a thermos flask and gave me a drink of a wonderfully still warm tea. I've realized that I like to feel useful too, Lady Thornton said. She smiled. Before the war, I had a lot of fun, but I wasn't anywhere near as useful. I suppose that was true. All Lady Thornton's WVS work was voluntary. She didn't have to do any of it. She could have gone off somewhere posh and waited out the war. I remember you on evacuation day, I said. She'd been so commanding that I nearly mistook her for an army officer. Her WVS uniform looked like something an officer would wear. Yes, Lady Thornton said. I was never taught to cook or sew, and unlike Susan, I can't do maths past arithmetic. But I'm a good organizer. I don't mind standing out here in the cold either. I'll help with the war however I can. After a pause, she added, I'd do anything to bring Jonathan safely home. And that is where we're going to stop today. We'll get chapter 22 on Friday. Bye, guys.